Hi there, Tim Crosby here to talk about diminished chords today. The other topic is augmented chords, but today is going to be diminished chords, and they're really cool. For a lot of reasons, they're interesting in the way they're structured, they're interesting in the way they go together, and they're most interesting in how you use them. And that's what all chords are for, is how do you use them. So we'll start out talking about, you may have looked at chord chart books or sheets or whatever, and you saw a diminished chord being like that. So the diminished chord on the high four strings of the guitar. And that's good, that's useful. But there are two other places to build your diminished chords. There's the high four strings, there are the middle four strings, and there are the low four strings. And they all have their uses because of their voicings. So let's first talk about how you build a diminished chord. The interesting thing about them is each note in the chord is 3 frets or 1.5 steps away from every other note in the chord. So you got one. So that note there, that open E string, would go with the 3rd fret, which would go with the 6th fret, which would go with the 7, 9. Anyway, every 3 frets. So the notes are all 3 frets apart, which means that you can move your diminished chord 3 frets either way. If you ever watched Dudley Do-Right, you've heard this. When he tied her up, and he put her on the railroad tracks, and the train was coming. Diminished chord creates a lot of tension. Where else do you play a diminished chord? So we've got these on the outside, and I'm going to use for an example, I've got a little thing here that I'm going to bring back in just a minute to refer to so you can see it and see where you put your fingers on. So you've got, I'm going to use a G sharp diminished, there's G sharp. You've seen that one. Where else can you find this same G sharp diminished? Well, if you can find a G sharp, you can put it in the middle, or there's a G sharp there on the bass string, and you can put it there. So let me get my chart back up here so you can take a look at it, take a picture of it, whatever, so you can see the fingerings of this in the middle or on the outside low strings of it, and we're talking about how to use it. So diminished chord has 2 most useful things. One is to move from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, or in a chord substitution, which will be another whole topic, the 2 minor 7. So if we're in the key of G, playing swing or anything, so here's the 1 chord, it's a G, and then we use the G sharp, the 1 sharp diminished, to create some tension to move us then to the 2 minor 7 or the F. So, so 1, and then 5 and back to 1. It's also used a lot in blues. 1 sharp diminished 4 chord. The other place that it shows up probably even more is in a chord progression from the 4, and you go 4 sharp diminished back to the 1. So we're in the key of G. G is our 1, C is our 4, And then a C sharp diminished is going to take us back to that 1. So, a common chord progression. 4 sharp diminished back to the 1. And then a circle of fifths. You've heard that before. So, think of it this way. 1 sharp diminished takes you to the 2 minor 7, or the 4 sharp diminished takes you to back to the 1. What are some examples? I was talking to a couple of my students last week about Deep River Blues. Here's a diminished chord. This is used a lot in blues. It's the 1 and the 4 sharp diminished. Back to the 1. We moved it down here. 1, 4 sharp diminished, A sharp diminished. Brings you right back to the 1. So think about these things with your diminished chords. Find these other inside or low outside forms for your diminished chords, and you'll have different voicings for it to use in different places. Let me once more repeat the fact that you can move these every 3 frets and get the same chord. So, brief discussion, brief introduction on the diminished chords. Glad you're here to get all demented with me. I'm Tim Crosby. I'll see you next time.